But my mom, she's over 60, so you got to check her every once in a while. You know, she's one of the good ones, but you do have to be like, all right, well, let's not say that one again in public. But she does this thing every single year. She did it recently. Every year she likes to remember her father, my grandfather. She posts on Facebook, if my father was alive today, he'd be this many years old, right? And I understand why we do that, right? Because sometimes we lose somebody too young or we lose them suddenly and we just remember them, right? The thing with my grandfather, though, is he was born in 1916. He had polio as a child, so he lived his whole life with one foot a little bit shorter than the other one. Then his family lost everything during the Great Depression, and they had to live in tents in a park. Then he got drafted into World War II, was sent to the Philippines, got malaria, and almost died. They read him his last rites. That's how almost died he was. Then he beat that, got back to America, found out his wife had left him, and he had a kid that he didn't know about. And eventually he met my grandmother, and she was great, but she was also a 4'8" drunk Irish woman that he was married to for 60 years. And then he got cancer and had to beat that twice. And he also lived to be 95 years old and died 15 years ago. So this year when my mom posted, I was like, Mom, if Papaw was still alive, he'd probably wish he was fucking dead. Gotta call it at some point, you know. Just pulls the plug himself. I'm like, no, Papaw, I got it. You gotta really get it. Now give me the pillow. I got you, buddy. I got you. But I'm happy it's a new year. Well, I was happy it was a new year. Then I got about 11 minutes into January, and I was like, all right, well, that's over. But I had a rough year last year. Honestly, I had a rough year the year before that. Honestly, when was the last time any of us had a good year? I'll tell you mine. Mine was 1998. I had a game-winning base hit in Little League, and it was the last time my dad hugged me in public. It was wonderful. I remember it fondly. I remember the scent. I remember his cologne. He didn't leave or anything, but, you know, we don't hug a lot. But no, so I got into my first major car accident. I was driving to a show in Pensacola, Florida, you know, the mecca of comedy. And I was on my way down, and I totaled my car by hitting a deer. Yeah, with a hybrid. The irony. And like, how embarrassing for that deer, right? Like, of all the ways a deer can go. Like, that deer goes up to deer heaven. He's got to explain to the other deer how he went, right? He goes up to the first deer. He's like, hey, how'd you go? And that deer's like, me? Oh, I was crossing the highway. Then I got hit by a Mack truck and exploded. Just, gone. Then he goes to the next deer. That deer looks different from the rest. He's a little bit older, more weathered, you know? And he goes, well, how'd you go? And that deer's like, well, I don't like to brag, but I died of natural causes. And all the other deer hear him, and they're like, incredible, inspiring. And they get to my deer, and they're like, well, how'd you go? And he's like, oh, it's pretty embarrassing. I got hit by a comic driving a hybrid. And they're like, oh, God, was he funny, at least? He's like, I don't think so. He was driving to Pensacola on a Wednesday. Sounds like it's terrible. But it was a Ford hybrid. Anyone here drive a Ford? Any Ford people? Okay, the rest of you intelligent people, I understand. That's good. But Ford's a very masculine company, right? They got the Ford F-150. That's a big old truck, right? They got the Ford Mustang, the Ford Bronco, the bovine line, right? So when they got into the hybrid business, they were overcompensating a little bit. So every time I would park my hybrid, the dash would say, the environment thanks you for driving a hybrid. And then I totaled that deer. And while it's spitting its hair is still on my windshield, the last thing I ever saw my car say was, the environment thanks you for driving a hybrid. Yeah, guess that deer was not built Ford tough. Deer's looking down, he's like, see, I told you, this guy fucking sucks. That killed me. And his grandfather. Allegedly. But that wasn't the worst. But then I got back to Nashville, and my girlfriend and I broke up. Yeah, no, it's okay. It was mutual, which is what you say when she dumps you. So then I found myself in a very interesting predicament back in Nashville, because I found myself newly single, but with no car to go on dates with. So I had to start taking my bike. My bicycle. Bicycle. But I gotta tell you, ladies, when I rode up on that date, on that vintage, $50 on the Facebook Marketplace, 1991, Team USA, red, white, and blue with the stars, Raleigh bicycle? Let's just say when I pulled up, the streets got a little more slick. And then if I was also wearing my periwinkle blue helmet with the visor, oh, you better get yourself a bucket, because that boat was taking on water fast. Yeah. So still single at the moment. I added pegs to the back just in case someone wanted to jump on and ride with me, you know? Just like, jump on, you're my backpack now, you know? But I don't know, it's not the worst being single. I'm out there, I had sex recently. Anyone here having sex? Okay, that's 4 of you, that's all right. New York has changed since I lived here, that's okay. But I don't know, I went on this date, it went well. She jumped on the pegs, went back to my place, it was fun. And I don't know, she gave me a compliment afterwards, I think. I don't know, I'll let you all be the judge. So we finished up, which is the only way I know how to describe what happens there. And based on the overall silence, would you like to explain that, some of you? But we finished up, and she looks over at me and she goes, you know, I've never orgasmed during sex before. And I almost did that time. So I thought I'd tell you. Look, I was a pretty good student growing up, but that is the happiest I've ever been to get a B+ my entire life. Next time I'll do that extra credit, get that A, make my father proud. I'm gonna get that hug, you know what I mean? Come here, son, you almost made a woman come. That makes one of us. I love you. But I've been trying to take care of myself. Since the breakup, since the car accident, all that kind of stuff. So I've been doing some things, both mentally and physically. I've been doing like positive affirmations. Trying to do positive affirmations. You know, that's kind of tough as a guy. It's mostly just me looking in the mirror, going, "Hey, you got this." But I tried something new recently because a lady friend of mine, she gave me something. So I've been trying this one out instead, and you guys can take it if you want to. Every day I wake up, I look in the mirror, and I go, "Hey, today, let's make a woman feel safe." I think it's going well so far, thank you. But I've also been going to the gym, trying to go to the gym and take care of myself. And I go to one of those gyms where like I'm the smallest person there. Not like the smallest guy, the women are jacked. Like, you know those women at the gym that they have the headphones that take up their entire head? And they walk around just like this the whole time, just like. You're like, that woman hasn't laughed in a fortnight. But then she squats 7,000 pounds. You're like, well, I belong to you now. Let's get out of here. Let's go. No, you're pedaling. I'm going to get on the back. Let's go. But I was at the gym the other day, and I'm sitting there on my bench, and I don't want to brag, but I was lifting a hot 20. And I'm sitting there, and this guy in the bench press, I just hear this, and I look up, and the biggest guy at the gym looks at me, and he goes, "Hey, bro, can you give me a spot?" And I literally looked over my shoulder to see who the fuck he was talking to. I was like, "Me?" And he was like, "Yeah, bro, you." So then I was kind of like, "Me? Sweet baby angel Will? Precious boy I?" And he was like, "Yeah, bro, you, come spot me." So I go skipping on over. And as I'm skipping over there, that's when I realized this guy's got 2 plates on each side plus 35 pounds. He's about to bench press 300 pounds. I barely weigh half of that. So now I'm looking at this guy like, oh, this man has a death wish. He's gonna die by my hands. But I get behind him, and he's like, "All right, bro, I'm gonna do 4 or 5 reps, but I am gonna max out." And I was looking at him like, this is officially assisted suicide. There's so many witnesses. But he does it, right? 4, 5, boom, boom, no problem. Then he goes for 6, and it goes up, and it starts coming back down. And I was like, time for SpongeBob to step in. So I get behind him, and I am pushing, and it is just continuing to go down. And then the fear in his eyes locking the fear in my eyes. And I'm like, but I have to save Patrick! So I turn my headphones up, I get all the way down, I throw my back against the wall, and I'm pushing, and then I hear myself through my headphones just going, and then I put in one last effort, and I'm like, no! And I throw the bar against the rack, then he jumps up, we high-fived, and then I walked around the gym giggling for 15 straight minutes. Guys, I'm Will Abeles. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the show.